for the final book review for the Narnia series, Book 7, The Last Battle. I don't have many talking points. I literally just have the main cast and the chapters. So, there are 16 chapters in this one. By Cauldron Pool, The Rashness of the King, The Ape in Its Glory, What Happened That Night, How Help Came to the King, A Good Night's Work, mainly about dwarves, What News the Eagle Brought, The Great Meeting on Stable Hill, Who Will Go into the Stables, The Pace Quickens, Through the Stable Door, How the Dwarves Refuse to be Taken In, A Night Falls on Narnia, Night Falls, not a night, Further Up and Further In, and lastly, Farewell to Shadowlands. So your main characters in this one is Eustace again, Jill, King Tyrion, Aslan, then you have 3 out of 4 Pevensies. Though Susan is referenced, you have Peter, Edmund, and Lucy. You have you have Diggory, which is the professor. Polly's back as well. Then you have Puzzle the donkey, Shift the ape, Jewel the unicorn, and Tash. Those are the only ones that I'm going to highlight right now. So, if you don't know, this is the final book, Book 7, and things get interesting quickly. So, starting off, Tyrion is king. He's like Caspian's great however many great-grandsons. And there's been peace in Narnia for a very long time, which is all well and good, but if you know how stories go, that doesn't mean that it's going to be peaceful for very long. Up near Cauldron Pool, which is like a waterfall area, you have Puzzle and Shift. Puzzle is a donkey, he's not the brightest. Shift is an ape who is the worst. Over the waterfall comes the skin of a lion from some sort of hunter, and Shift gets the idea that he could dress up Puzzle in this lion skin and make him to be Aslan, because no one's seen him in a very long time. He can get whatever he wants done by using Puzzle as Aslan. Puzzle's not keen on the idea at first, but he's not very bright, and he allows Shift to use him in this way. But not until after this loud crash and thunder, lightning, and Puzzle's like, well, that clearly is a sign that we shouldn't do this, right? But Shift is cunning, and he says, no, I was going to say that if we should do this, Aslan would surely send that sign, and then he agrees. Tyrion finds out that this is happening, and in his anger, he gets kidnapped and tied up against this tree because he dares speak out against Aslan, even though it's not him. Ape's orders, because he finds out that the trees are being cut down and sent off to one of the other kingdoms, and one of the tree spirits comes out and warns him. Some of the talking animals are being sent to the same place to be workhorses, and he's not okay with that, clearly. You're not going to just do this, whose order? And he says, hey, yeah, that's clearly not Aslan, and he gets tied up to a tree, thinking that he's just gonna die. But he calls upon Aslan, and he basically gets his spirit sent to our world, where he's kind of like this ghostly figure, and he's at a table, and while he can't speak to the people around the table, they see him, they realize that this is clearly magic, this has to be Narnian magic, and those people around the table are Eustace, Jill, Peter, Edmund, Lucy, Diggory, and Polly. So you have all of them, and they get sent on this quest to retrieve the rings from the first book to try and help Peter and Edmund go collect the rings while everyone else is going to go wait at the train station. Their parents are even on this train, and Jill and Eustace are on the train. You have Lucy and Diggory with Polly waiting on this train station platform, and they don't get the rings. They feel a jerk, and all of a sudden you have Jill and Eustace in Narnia to help Tyrion. So that's how help came to the king. Eustace is like, I'm glad we came here, because that kind of felt like the beginning of something bad. They hit you with that in like chapter 5. And if you don't know what happens, I'll probably get there, but it's not good. So they end up seeing these dwarves after freeing the king, and they don't want to believe anything anymore, because they do free Puzzle from his little stable that he's been hiding in, because they only bring him out for like an hour, not even, just so they can see him by a giant bonfire, see that it's Aslan, and then the ape puts him back in. They have people, Colomians, I think is how you pronounce it, the other kingdom that's gaining all of these things. They're there, and they're gaining all of the wood, all of the animals, and they're in cahoots with the ape. So, you know, bad times. If you hear that noise, I'm just gonna be honest, it's just Gracie. Gracie is, oh, okay. Gracie's being a menace. She's rubbing on a bag of chips. So, they don't want to believe anymore. They see that Puzzle is just a donkey, and they don't want to be fooled ever again. So they're not going to believe in Aslan, they're not going to believe in Tash, they're just going to be dwarves, and dwarves are for the dwarves, that's it. When Tyrion originally went to go and deal with the ape and everyone in between, he sent a centaur, which was one of his friends, back to Cair Paravel to gather an army to deal with him, because they believe that, you know, being invaded and all that, because why else would that be a thing, you know? But the eagle brings the news that everyone is gone. There was another invasion, and they were unprepared. They were ambushed and all killed. That breaks his heart. Jewel the unicorn, which is his other friend, he's still alive. He's just kind of kidnapped. They rescue him when they rescue Puzzle. But the eagle brings the news that everyone else is gone. Fearing that this is the end of Narnia, because that's what the stars had foretold, they're all or nothing at this point. We're going to go back to that stable, and we're going to out everything. It be what it'll be. So they get into this battle where it doesn't go well. The bad guys have reinforcements. The ape is no longer really in charge. He's too busy being drunk. So the people that worship Tash are now in charge. And the poor horses that were free to come join the battle all pretty much get shot by the dwarves, because the dwarves don't really care. They're shooting both sides, not just the Narnians, they're shooting the bad guys as well. Just to be menaces, pretty much. So, at one point, they get backed up into a corner. Let me backtrack. There's the stable, and inside, the ape still believes that, you know, Tashlan, as they were calling him there for a while, is still in there, because they believe that Tash and Aslan are one and the same, because it's one of the ways that they could get away with saying that Aslan, who is all good and all pure, has an evil streak and is angry with them all the time, and that the blood sacrifice cult and Aslan are one and the same. That's how they got away with it for a while. And the poor Narnians don't know any better. So they believed it. But he wasn't going to come out because clearly at that point in time they didn't have Puzzle. So they were going to send in someone who was going to pretend to see him and then come back out and, you know, say, hey, yeah, he's still there. He's very angry. Don't go in. So no one else would go in. So they send in a cat. The cat goes in, sees something that's not that. It's actually Tash. Comes out and he can no longer speak. One of their people, who I did not put in here because I cannot pronounce his name, he goes in and he is willing to give up everything. He is not afraid of going to either his death or to meet his God, basically. He wants to see whether or not everything is all true. So he goes in. His name is Emmeth. I found it in the book. Emmeth, he's a nice guy. Very, very chill. He goes in because he didn't believe that even his own hierarchy, his own man in charge, I can't think of the name right now, he didn't believe, so surely he has to be wrong, right? So he'll go in and get to the bottom of it. But we don't see him again. Not for a while. Oh. Menace to society. The child is back. So yeah, they deal with that. And eventually, one by one, Jill, Eustace, Tyrion, all of them go in. Jill is killed in battle. And it's very, very sad. Very, very dark. There's a lot of dark undertones in the last battle. When they get in there, they find Peter, Edmund, Lucy, Diggory, and Polly are all there. The professor and Polly are younger. Edmund's no longer hurting. And they don't realize that they're dead. They are all gone. That jerk that they felt was a train crash. The train hit everybody that was on the station, so Lucy, Diggory, and Polly passed away, as well as Edmund and Peter, who were returning with the rings. You had their parents, and then Jill and Eustace are in there, and they're all gone. So Tyrion is greeted with the 7 friends in Narnia, and he doesn't quite know what happened just yet. He doesn't know he's dead either, because when they went through that door, they were gone. The stable door is now occupied by Tash, and it's kind of like a portal, and they go and they find this guy who had willingly went in to deal with whether or not Tash was true or Aslan was true. We find out that Aslan had talked to him, and for lack of better words, he had been searching for Aslan his whole life, and he finally found him before it was too late. Aslan had not called the stars down from the heavens and destroyed Narnia yet at that point, so he was welcome to stay, even though all of his life up until that moment before he went into the stable, he had been on the complete opposite wrong side. But, child, you are ruining the flow. He, for lack of better words, is safe. Aslan is tired of all of this fighting, and he goes and he calls the stars down from the heavens, and all of the light disappears, and they light up the wood around it so that they can call everyone home, a horn blast, and they all come to this door. And those who accepted Aslan get to continue going through, and the ones that rejected him lose their ability to speak, and they go off into the world that is being destroyed by Father Time. From the silver chair, he is back, he is destroying everything, and that is not where the story ends. The door closes, and they have to go further up and further in. So, they do. And they get eventually to where the garden was, where the tree that had the apple that Diggory took in the first place was. They get to that area, and where they are, the door swings open, and out comes people like Reepicheep, Mr. Tumnus, Caspian, people that had gone before them. Even King Frank and Queen Helen are there. And they all reminisce, and they find out that, yeah, they're gone, but they have a new life in Aslan's country. And it is gut-wrenching. This story was so bittersweet, talking about it even now, because Rapture is close. And, you know, the fact that they got to go back to that garden where you had to go through the gate. You could not go over the wall. You couldn't go under it. You had to go through the door, and that's where it ended. They got to live there, Narnia, the true Narnia, not the one that was created for the Pevensies to go and help. They got to actually go there, and it was wonderful. They got to see their parents in a different version of London. They could still see them. They could more than likely still hang out with them. The only one that was missing was Susan. She is no longer a friend of Narnia, but she is still alive. So there is a chance that she could have gotten to know him had there been an 8th book dealing with the loss. And while Narnia is no longer a thing, she had to move through the grief and still get closer to Aslan, knowing him by the name that he is in our world. It was such a gut-wrenching book. I have no critiques. It is a 5 out of 5. Technically 6 out of 5. Would I reread it? Not without tissues. Because I know how the story ends. And I'm probably just going to end this video with the actual quote. Because that seems like something we should do. So, we have Aslan, and he is talking about how, you know, there was a real accident, everything is okay, and then it goes on, where did it go? Hold on, let me try and find it. I am not prepared, I am so sorry. Basically, it talks about how the story is over. The term is set. The holidays are over. Something along those lines. And yeah, gut-wrenching story. And that is my final review of the Narnia book series. Thank you for watching.